To the regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Tinley Park. I think if all are ready, we're going to start with the pledge. If everyone will stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Lori, would you like to call the roll?
Board Member Bettenhausen,
Present.
Board Member Paschek,
Here.
Board Member Vargas, Board Member Truxell,
Here.
Board Member Marak,
Here.
Chair Sapisi.
Here. Thank you. Before we go any further, because I have a tendency to forget this, notification was made via newspaper to all concerned about, to the public about the notice of this here, these two hearings that'll be tonight. So we have those in there on file and available for viewing. We have two hearings scheduled tonight, so when we get to that point, of course, we will be swearing in people and doing all that. I'd like to start, though, to see if we can take care of the minutes from the last regular scheduled meeting that we had 2 weeks ago. If someone wants to make a motion to approve said minutes.
So move. Second.
There we go. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the last meeting signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign? Okay, very good. All right. As I stated, we have two hearings tonight. One regarding the property at 17515 65th Avenue, and one regarding the property at 6850 West 159th Street. I see we have a couple of gentlemen here tonight. Are you guys going to be speaking during the hearing tonight?
Sure.
Okay, can I ask you both to stand though, and we'll swear you in now?
Sure.
Because I'll forget later again. Okay, your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth regarding this hearing, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. Are we ready to go with the hearing, Stan? Okay. Public hearing number one is to consider recommendation that the village board grant John and Barb Niedzewski? Niedzewski. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't even close there.
Right, I'm used to it.
Property owners a variation from section 3.1E of the zoning code, accessory structure and use detached garage, side yard setback at the property located at 17515 65th Avenue in the R2 single-family residential zoning district. This variation would permit the petitioners to install a detached garage to encroach 2.5 feet into the required 5-foot setback from the property line. Okay. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Okay, moved
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor of opening the hearing at this time, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. All right. We'll start with you guys. Who's first?
So I will start with the presentation here for the garage variation.
Okay.
And this is the front of the property that you can see here. The detached garage is located off to the left. And a bit of background about the case. So this is a rather small interior lot, 87 feet wide, located in Elmore's Tinley Park Estates. It's a subdivision platted in 1929, a very old subdivision. And there is an existing non-conforming detached garage on the property, currently set back a half a foot from its side, which is a north property line. Context to the area, it's surrounded by single-family homes, and to the south in particular is a single-family home that had a previously approved garage variation for a setback, 2 feet from the lot line. So the standard is for 5 feet, so the setback was previously approved, bordering the subject property. To the north, that property happens to have a shed near the south property line, close to where the location of the subject detached garages. And to the east, on the other street, 175th, There is a detached garage which appears also to be located close to the property line. As far as zoning, this is in the R2, single-family residential. As I said, most of the homes are pretty old, and all surrounding on that block are R2. Up to the north is a different district that's R5. And also to note, for context in the area, there are several detached garages in the area that also appear closer than 5 feet to the lot line when examining the parcel lines on an estimated GIS map. So here's a couple of photos of the site, of showing the garage. Left and up close to the right, you can see, as the petitioner has noted, the garage is in deteriorating condition with a severely cracked slab. And to the left, you can see the neighbor's shed close to the garage, and to the right is a gateway leading to stairs that go up to the home, two-story home. And then this is the neighbor immediately to the south, as discussed, that had a previously approved garage variation in 2002 for the rear and side. The original garage was only 1 foot off of their north side property line, and the variation was approved for 2 feet. There are a couple other variations in the general vicinity, none directly on the block. One's at 17338 65th, another's at 6624 175th, but going up and down the block, you'll notice that there are several of the garages that may be original or not, that may be legal, non-conforming in nature. And so the variation request is for a 2.5-foot variation from section 3(1)E, accessory structures and uses, detached garage side yard setback, to permit a 14-foot wide by 20.5-foot deep detached garage to be set back 2.5 feet from the north side lot line, where a minimum 5-foot setback is required. There is a diagram here that the petitioner has provided that helps illustrate the site constraints. So this variation is based on the physical layout of the existing lot and proximity to the stairs in the home. This allows very little room to place or expand the garage by right. The petitioner state if they were to comply with the 5-foot setback to the lot line and the zoning code's 10-foot setback to the house, the principal structure, only a very narrow 10-foot wide garage would be possible, which would limit space for a car and essential yard tools. This is the plat of survey with an overlay showing in green the permitted 5-foot rear and side setbacks. Up in the upper right, north is up, and to the far northeast is in dark gray is the location of the existing garage, a 1/2 foot from the lot line, and in orange is the proposed location. Please note that the request is only for the side yard, for the north. The garage proposed will still comply with the 5-foot setback to the rear. So the petitioner has not had construction plans drawn up yet, but has provided a couple of sample options of garage styles. So you can see here, just very basic siding and layout with the peaked gable. And then these are standards for the variation that state the first 3 points, as well as the rest of the standards. I can review these if you'd like. And following is the recommended motion. So this concludes the staff presentation. As noted, the petitioner's here to be able to answer any questions.
Okay, before we go into that, gentlemen, does anybody have any questions or comments for Lori on this?
Pretty straightforward, from what I can tell.
I mean, it looks like this proposal actually would make things better.
Yep.
Yes, that's right. It will reduce the nonconformity.
Guys?
We've seen a lot of garages or sheds in this situation. Has the fire department reviewed any of them or looked at the situation? Their garages contain multiple things with gasoline. And, you know, I'm just leery of the fire hazard, and I'm not sure that the fire department's approved it or looked at it, or they've approved that the materials to be used in the garage.
So we have, it's in our zoning code, it's also in our building code, and it's kind of their code requirement. So it typically requires that 10-foot separation. And as long as there's a 10-foot separation between the principal structure and the garage, they don't really care. If it gets within 5 to 10 feet, then they require basically drywall and insulation in the garage, so it creates some level of fireproofing to slow the spread of a fire, and then they don't let any detached structure be closer than 5 feet.
If I'm not mistaken, it looks like it's a 7.5-foot spread between the neighbor's garage and this proposed garage.
Yeah, so that's between basically a dwelling and the accessory structure. There really is no minimum distance between two accessory structures, since nobody's living in them, sleeping in them.
Just the house itself.
Yes, just the houses and accessory structures.
Okay.
So they do review our building permits.
Okay.
And was it also stipulated in one of the documents, and now, of course, I can't remember which one, that to put the garage at the 5-foot mark would bring it closer to the house and possibly create a life safety fire hazard? By moving it this 2.5 feet, we take it out of that territory more.
Correct,
Is that
and
correct?
increase they basically, so they're, part of the reason why they're asking for this variation is so they can keep the 10-foot distance. Because once you get in between that 5 and 10 foot, the drywall and insulation you have to do, it does increase some risk, and it increases cost too for the project at that point. So, that's part of the reason why they're asking for it. The 2.5 feet is an improvement from the 1/2 foot that's there now.
Yes.
And the goal is really to have enough to maintain your structure and maintain that space that's there. So 2.5 feet, we think, is reasonable to be able to maintain the structure, maintain that area.
Okay, Amy, anything else before we go to John? John, would you like to speak? You got something you'd like to say?
I'd just like to say thanks to Lori and Dan. You guys should be proud of them. They made this whole process very easy for me, helped out with any questions I had. I'm just trying to get to replace an old dilapidated garage so my wife can have someplace to park her car. We haven't been able to, just like to give her that. Improve the
Okay.
area. Thank you.
That's very good. Okay. Does anybody else have anything to say regarding this? Do we need to do, standard? What am I thinking of?
Yeah, we have, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll go through the standards. and-
Okay, you wanna do, you wanna close it and then go through standard? Okay, again, I'm confused. Okay, at this time, so that we can proceed with standards and with the recommended motion, do we have a motion to close the hearing?
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded to close the hearing. All those in favor of closing the hearing at this time signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, so the hearing is closed. We're gonna go ahead and go through standards of care, and then we'll move on to a motion. Standards of care, listen to my own mind, okay? Standards of variation, yeah.
Okay, so as I noted before, the standards are up here on the screen. I'll read them to you. So first one, property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it's located. Staff has responded, adherence to the regulations will not allow petitioners to construct typical one-car garage due to the existing physical constraints of the property and existing structure. Number two, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The configuration of the lot, location of the existing principal structure, and location of the existing garage from the north side property line provide unique reasons as to why the variation is the best option for this specific circumstance. The proposed setback will be improved compared to the existing conditions. Number three, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. Several garages in the neighborhood appear closer than 5 feet to the property line due to prior variations or are legal nonconforming. The proposed garage will be farther from the property line than the existing garage and improve the overall look and ability to maintain the structure. On the screen here is the fourth standard, and that concludes the standards.
Might have existed the same before that time, some might have come in after, but most of it's 1978, and most of this area came in well before that. It was developed well before it, so.
The variation granted to the neighbor was 18 years ago.
Right, it was.
So it was
in
at
2000.
least that, yeah, that far
Oh,
back.
yeah,
I
that's
just
well-
remember garages being built in certain areas of
Yeah.
Tinley Park.
Yeah, in the
in
middle
the
of
When I
the
was a
night.
child.
In the middle of the night, they were built, yeah.
No, no,
Seen a
Yeah,
couple
and
of those.
some, I mean,
I've seen
yeah,
them move
some
down
were
Park
built under
Avenue.
other zoning codes, some might have been illegal. This one's old enough.
This
I
is
think
old
it was
enough.
just an older code. And our goal is always to try and get people to meet, but you get these situations, sometimes you can't, so.
even the
That's-
building, the houses were zoned and so forth, but not the garages, the outbuildings.
Yeah, it seemed like there was almost no regulations on the garages sometimes from what I've seen in these older areas.
And this garage, I think, is about 90 years old. right
That
after
garage is
septic.
about 90 years old?
About 90, platted.
And a lot of these areas didn't
Plan.
have garages, so that's, I mean, we have areas of town where we have alleys in the back for the horse and buggies that were going through there. So some of these were built when there wasn't even vehicles. So then those detached garages kind of came in after the fact, whatever, and usually just popped up whenever the family got a car, so.
I just think this is a super improvement to that neighborhood.
Yeah, and accessory structures do have a strong, you know, on the appearance side of it, so when you're replacing it and improving it, it's a good thing.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion for the recommendation. Anyone wants to?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the village grant a variation to the petitioners, John and Barb Niedzwiecki, and a 2.5-foot variation from Section 3, 1E of the zoning, accessory structures and uses, detached garage side yard setback to permit a 14-foot wide by 20.5-foot deep detached garage to the setback 2.5 feet from the north side yard lot line, where a minimum 5-foot setback is required, at the property located at 17515 65th Avenue in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District, consistent with the submitted plans and adopted findings of fact as proposed by village staff in the June 24th, 2021 staff report.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, are there any other conditions that anyone would like to add or change in the motion? All right, well, it's been moved and seconded to grant this variation. Can you call the roll for us, please?
Board Member Bettenhausen,
Yes?
Board Member Paschek,
Yes,
Board Member Truxell,
Yes.
Board Member Marak,
Yes.
Chair Sepisi.
Yes. Okay, what does that mean? That means that you were unanimously granted a variation recommendation. We're not quite done yet. This has to go to the village board, but because it was a unanimous recommendation, it'll be a one read, and then the village board will make their decision the same night. So, and Dan, that date is?
This coming Tuesday, June 29th. So
June
very
29th.
quick turnaround, and that'll be the only meeting, so.
You can be there. Never hurts, I guess.
Yeah, we can follow up with you, but you're welcome to attend or watch it online. Typically, there's not questions or this presentation there, and it moves pretty quick.
Okay.
But you're welcome to come, just in case there was questions, unlikely, and just to see what the final result is, or you can watch it on YouTube. as well.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
That's
Really
okay,
like it.
congratulations.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Now that that's done,
You're welcome
let's
to
go
stay,
on.
or you can also leave.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great night, gentlemen.
too.
Thank
You take care of yourself now.
Thank you.
All right. Stretch for a minute, take a deep breath, we'll go on to the next one. We're doing good here. All right, item number 2, the public hearing, ground sign variations for 6850 West 159th Street. That's the Trinity Lutheran Church and School. Okay, consider recommending that the village board grant Trinity Lutheran Church property owner variations from section 9J electronic message center regulations and section 9E residential zoning sign regulations of the zoning code at the property located at 6850 West 159th Street in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District. The granting of the variation will permit the ground sign to exceed the maximum size, maximum height, and in the an electronic message center exceeding 20% of the total sign area. Who would like to make a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion,
There's a second.
we have a second, okay, motion moved and seconded to open the meeting, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, then the meeting is, or the hearing is open. Lori, you're up again.
Okay, so for this requested sign variation, this is the Trinity Lutheran Church and School, located up close to us at the 159th Avenue and Oak Park Avenue intersection, 6850 159th Street. So here is an image of how the property looks close to the right-of-way. You can see there's an existing sign there with surrounding landscaping, followed by the principal structure in the back. So this is the background. I have on the right outline of the lot shape. You can see that there is another business that is directly at the intersection. The majority of the property is to the west. It's a flag lot shaped property with the principal frontage on 159th Street. The site overall is a little over 11 acres, and the site contains a church with a school on site. The petitioner is seeking to replace the existing monument sign, which is located on 159th Street. The existing sign has an electronic message center. So this existing sign with the message center was all permitted in 2009. The history of this is at the time with the village, zoning was misclassified as a B3 zoning district instead of R2. The sign area height and size of the electronic message center all exceed the R2 requirements, but at the time was permitted as B3. Zoning and nearby uses. So this is split zoned. The majority of it is R2. There's a small portion fronting the Oak Park Avenue that's a B3. And for context area, this is a very commercial area. The Delta Sonic Car Wash is the property that is directly on the northwest corner of the intersection. And to the south is, as I'm sure you're all very familiar with, the Menards property with large commercial development with strip mall and other freestanding businesses. To the north are single-family homes outside of Tinley Park, and to the west are a series of businesses. Most closely is the Premier Veterinary Group. The site, also to note, the frontage along 159th is about 800 feet. It's fairly extensive. If you were to count that to Oak Park Avenue, it's a little over 1,100 feet. So here are a couple of aerials that one of the applicant's representatives has provided that show, a bit of what is existing on the site. And the applicant proposes simply to remove the currently malfunctioning sign and to put in a new sign in the exact location. So this is existing and proposed. You can see at the south is where the sign is located. The residences that I mentioned above, or before, are above, behind the property to the north. The sign from the edge of it to the roadway is about 32 feet, and it is excluding the base, 6.5 feet tall by 16 feet wide. Here is an image up close of the sign that shows the surrounding landscaping and the stone base. So this is a faux mortarless stone base. The applicants made it very clear that they simply need to remove, due to the nature of the non-functioning part of the sign, they need to remove the whole sign, but the base will remain. So the sign will be removed, and a new sign of the same overall size will be placed in, anchored in into the concrete below. And the existing landscaping, there may be some bushes trimmed as regular maintenance, but nothing else will be removed with landscaping. The mortarless stone base will be replaced as shown. This is an image of what was previously approved in permit in 2019. So the total area is 104 square feet.
2009.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said 2019, but.
I'm sorry, I
2009.
meant 2009. I'm really bad with dates tonight. So it's 2009, it was approved. The total sign area, 104 square feet. The electronic message center, as existing right now and previously approved, is 36 square feet. That's almost 35% of the total sign area. And then this is the proposed sign. So you can see that the dimensions of the overall sign area are the same, but the electronic message center sign has been reduced to about 22.5 square feet. That would be 21.63% of the overall sign area. As I mentioned, it'll be inserted and anchored into the existing location, and the stone base and landscaping will remain. So for the variation request, there are two variations. One is for the electronic message center. The code stipulates that only 20% is maximum of the sign area. This is reflective of a code amendment that was done in 2017 that reduced the allowable percentage from 50% to 20%. This was done to limit construction of comparatively large electronic message center signs, which were coming at the time, and the preference was for the signs to function subordinately to the freestanding identification sign. So, with this sign area of 104 square feet, that's 20.8 square feet. Proposed, 22.49 square feet, 21.63%. The existing, again, was larger, right, 36 square feet. Second variation is a variation from the code that designates the maximum allowable sign face area and height. The code says it is a maximum of, in residential zoning district R2, maximum of 30 square feet and 6 foot in height, and the proposed is 104 square feet area, 6 foot in height. Same as proposed, or same as existing. Also, I'd like to note that, the EMC is reducing this nonconformity. It's making it smaller. The scale of the sign overall is suited to the commercial nature of the area. And, along with, similar to the types of businesses, the high-speed vehicle traffic, for visibility. And if it were zoned commercial, it would be permitted. So that concludes the staff presentation. I'll have the standards available as well as the motion.
Okay. Any questions so far, or comments? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Sir, would you like to?
Good evening. I'm Pastor Rick Schauer, and I've been here longer than the sign, even the existing one. My family and I came here at 2002, and prior to that, actually yesterday was the 30-year anniversary of my being ordained as a pastor.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Trinity has been here only since 1859. So a permanent place in New Bremen at the time, and we're thankful that we've been able to be here in the community and to work in various things, such in connection like with PASS and Love Inc. and other organizations and businesses. The reason for the new sign is that, as stated, the existing one, the LED portion has yellowing and it's malfunctioning in certain panels at times. They do not make those panels anymore. So the new LED is also a higher resolution. The existing one was 20 millimeter LEDs. These are 8 millimeter. So the readability, even though it being smaller, will be even better for those who pass by. And so the sign itself around the LED is the exact as it was before. The only change is the coloring, going to a bluish and a whiter background, which matches our church branding. So that's the extent of the reasons.
Okay. Any questions for the pastor? Sir? No? All right, well then we're gonna move along, and
just-
we're going.
I'll quickly note that for the overall size issue, the main issue was with that prior permit being issued, that classified this as the B3 zoning district. So we'd still be in the same situation with the LED size, but the overall sign size should have had a variation essentially back then. I think it fits the area size-wise, but it really should have had a variation in 2009. But the misclassification of it kind of led to this issue. So the size side of it is us kind of cleaning that up. But we would still have the issue with the size regardless.
So we're hopefully gonna clear that up now and put it to rest.
Yeah.
And would a church normally be classified as B3 or?
So they're not permitted in the B3, so they're only permitted in residential
Okay.
zonings. But, it ends up kind of weird, because there's a few churches down 159 that you'll get business zoning and then next residential. So, if it's a long kind of a major commercial corridor, and churches are often, that's kind of where some of the churches have already had variances for size before, just 'cause
Yeah, I mean,
it functions a
this
little.
makes a lot of sense to me. I was just wondering, like, why is it zoned that way?
I had the same question.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Thanks for asking.
It's God's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Residential?
That's a good.
Okay.
It's actually
That's what makes it
very
residential,
typical.
that's
It's not
why.
like out of Tinley Park, it's more like I think it's more historical, you have churches in, like residential areas. Also, you don't really want a church maybe to be able to go into a shopping center all the time without being able to see how that would function. So there are towns that have now allowed that maybe as a special use or something. But it's typically you want them more kind of in residential
Okay.
neighborhoods historically.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
The size of the sign is not going to be a problem visibility-wise for traffic. But I'm wondering about the luminosity of the sign. Is it brighter for traffic passing by? Or?
I don't,
The existing, do you want to come back here? Okay. The existing sign has a vandal cover on it, which has a lesser visibility, as far as illuminance. The new sign will not have the vandal cover on there. It is light controlled as far as with whatever the nighttime, it darkens, so it won't be a constant 100% luminosity. It would just be pertaining to how the sunshine is, and it'll vary day and night.
So I was wondering about that too, like if you're sitting at the stoplight there on 159th and Oak Park, if it's flashing or something, would it, bother somebody?
Yeah, it's gonna feel like
But
Times
it's
Square
far
or
enough,
something.
yeah, it's far enough away from the intersection. I drove by
Yeah.
on the way
Yeah.
to the meeting
but
tonight.
we do have requirements for those that
Right.
apply to all LED signs equally for the brightness as well as the motion
Okay.
and the
Mhm.
display.
Do you remember when we did Harley
To be
Davidson
honest,
about a
we
year ago?
don't, because you can
Same.
set those electronically just by a computer, you can bring it up or down now.
Oh, yeah.
You used to have to manually do it on the signs, but now it's a click of a button. We don't usually go check them unless we got some kind of
You
complaint.
can't dictate the content. of the song.
Mokina got a lot of complaints from the pipe fitters when that sign went up, if anyone remembers, that really lit up the expressway. So we haven't really had any issues because most of them kind of come ready to, that even the sign companies are kind of on board with not doing something that's really distracting.
I
But
think
we
it's-
do have standards if there was. a
Right, yeah,
complaint.
we have those standards. We don't do any flashing, strobing
Okay.
type of
I
effect.
think it's called circadian lighting, which
It would be like the one we just did recently on 179th and 94th for the bank.
Yes, the bank,
Mhm. Yeah, the bank.
yes.
That's in a
And we did Harley
pretty good
Davidson too.
residential area.
That was-
Hmm?
We did Harley Davidson too, about a year or so ago.
Yeah, so we don't really address those in this just because we have standards that they'll have to follow.
We've had no complaints over the last 12 years that the existing sign,
Yeah,
Has
and
been
usually,
installed.
usually almost any business is willing, no, if they get a complaint, they're willing to adjust it, so.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever written a ticket for it, so it seems to work itself out.
Okay, well, let's entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So,
Okay.
Second.
We have a moved and seconded to close the public hearing, so we can get on to various standards and discussion and a motion. So all those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, so the hearing is closed. Why don't we go ahead into the standards? And then we'll do any discussion and a motion.
Okay, so the standards for variation. The first standard, property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by regulations in the district in which it's located. Staff finds the location of the sign along a heavily traveled commercial corridor would make it difficult for a sign with an electronic message center to be legible if limited to residential zoning sign requirements. Commercial zoning requirements are more appropriate due to the location. Number two, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The proposed sign is located along a heavily trafficked commercial corridor with no residential visibility to the sign despite the residential zoning. The sign is proposed to replace an existing and similar type sign that will reduce the size of the electronic message center. Number three, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. Staff finds the property is within a heavily trafficked commercial corridor and a signalized intersection. The sign will meet the same sign regulations allotted to the neighboring commercial properties and thus will not change the character of the area. There is residential property to the north of the church, but the sign, which is located to the south of the church, will be fully shielded from those properties. And here's standard number 4. That concludes standards.
Okay, any discussion before we ask for a motion? We're all good with this?
Yep.
Okay, so who would like to read the recommended motion?
It looks like you.
Okay.
Looks like you're doing great, yeah.
That's fine. I make a motion to recommend that the village board grant a variation to the petitioner, Rick Schauer, on behalf of Trinity Lutheran Church from section 9J4, electronic message centers, dynamic variable electronic message, maximum allowable size regulations, and section 9E1, additional standards of permanent signs in residential zoning districts regulations of the zoning ordinance, to permit an electronic message center sign to exceed the maximum size of 20% of a freestanding sign that is 104 square feet in size and 6 foot 6 inches in height, instead of the maximum 30 square feet and 6 foot height at the property located at 6850 159th Street in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District, consistent with the submitted plans, and adopt findings of fact as proposed by village staff in the June 24th, 2021 staff report.
Okay, before we second, are there any conditions that you want to add or alter? Anybody? Okay, we'll look for a second on the motion then.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to make our recommendation to the village board. Can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Bettenhausen,
Yes.
Board Member Paschek,
Yes.
Board Member Truxell,
Yes.
Board Member Marock,
Yes.
Chair Sepasi.
Yes. Okay, it would appear that your motion has passed. Your recommendation will go to the village board. Because it's unanimous, it should get to the board on the 29th again, Dan? Yeah.
Yep.
On the 29th of this month, which is next Tuesday. And you could be there, you could be online watching on the YouTube channel, whatever you prefer. And the village board will read and discuss and vote on your recommendation. Congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing the new sign.
Thank you.
Let us know if you have any questions in the meantime or anything. Yep. And we're working with your contractor as well, Teresa, to make sure that it can basically be issued kind of soon after, so.
All right, we are up to, good of the order. Dan, a lot of things going on.
I went through most of it last week,
I
so.
know, I came back from Michigan on Saturday morning and just happened to drive by Avocado. And holy smoke, they got a lot done in a week.
Yeah, they're working on the inside, and everything else there, so I know he's aiming for an August opening. I think.
Pretty
They,
amazing.
they still have some work to do there, but I know he's always at the farmers markets, Prunell, and he's at Orland's. They have like a park market thing they do as well, so, I know he's pretty excited to get open, so. And then the beer gardens extended some of their hours and stuff, and
Yes,
put
they
some
have.
other furniture out there. They are gonna be, the structure that's out there.
The hut?
Yeah, the hut, that'll
Inside the
actually be
hut?
sided soon,
Yeah.
but I think it was behind.
I don't think people care.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
they're
it seems
out.
busy every
It's
time.
been
I
very
check.
well received.
Which one's that? Banging
This is
Gavel?
the Bang and Gavel, yeah, that beer garden's been very well received. I'm not a fan of picnic tables, but they don't seem to care.
Yeah.
At all.
Busy out there. July 8th is our next meeting, so we have something on that agenda, so it's 3 in a row.
Wow, that's amazing. And we all said
Just
goodbye to
one or
Waltz
two?
last week.
Just one item on that.
All right, well, does anybody else have anything for good of the order or discussion or anything?
No,
You
sir.
guys are so.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second. Moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. We're done. We're out.
Thank you, everyone.